Hello, everybody. All right. Welcome to the Mikestand. Today is, of course, Tuesday, February the 3rd, 2020, 2026. So hopefully, I hope everybody's having a good week thus far as we're just, we're going to we're going to obviously wait a couple minutes to give people a chance to come in. Friendly reminder, of course, to everybody, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, as we're waiting for people to come in, did you have a chance to watch basically all the cartoons that came out in April of 1945 today? Let's see, including a Looney Tunes or Merry Melodies one-off, among other things. Shape Ahoy, from Paramount Pictures as well, from Famous Studios. That was a Popeye cartoon, where he and Bluto were on basically a deserted island to get away from women, and then Olive comes on, and they pretend to ignore her only to start competing for her, and then she gets swept away by basically a Frank Sinatra character. Um, this was the first of the series of Popeye cartoons, of course, where Jack Mercer was temporarily replaced when he decided to enlist in the military, do his military service towards the end of World War II and into 1946, obviously. So, in this first cartoon, Mae Quetzal took on the role of Popeye for that cartoon. It was probably one of the few times, if the only time, that you saw Popeye with like a beard. So, of course, little Lulu graced the screen as well. That in in April of 1945, where we first see, at least in film form and in animation form, we see her beau, Fatso, with bow ties, where he basically he gets caught cheating on her with a little girl named Fifi, and then in order to kind of get out of trouble with her at the moment, he promises to marry her and basically promises, um, to, in real big, with a real big heart and real big letters, say that he loves Lulu on a tree, only for him to get knocked out and dream of what married life with Lulu would be like. And turns out that, at least in his imagination, it'd be hell on earth. So, let's see. We got to see Goofy on safari in Africa as well from Disney. Started off with Woody Dines Out, where basically Woody's out, I guess, in the afternoon, and all the restaurants are closed apparently for whatever reason, and he finally finds a place where they say that they specialize in stuffing birds. Only Woody didn't understand the actual what they meant by stuff, because he ends up walking into a taxidermist's office. So, some funny stuff. Anyways, wow, we're already getting close to the 5 minute mark here. So let me talk about what's on top for tonight. Then I really went off, didn't I? There, went on talking about cartoons I watched today. Well, anyway, so for tonight's show, got a couple articles I'm going to actually do from MeTV Tunes, as I really couldn't find much going on Bounding into Comics or any of the other site, so I decided just on a whim just check out what if they had anything on MeTV Tunes. There's a couple of interesting things that will be one talking about, I guess, something coming out, I guess, this Sunday. The Bugs Bunny Bowl that they're doing, and then actually another little interesting tidbit that they're talking about. Apparently, Jack Nicholson got his start with Hanna-Barbara. So we're going to look at that article. Then, of course, we're going to go on to the wrestling wrap up. We'll look back to last night's Monday Night Raw. See, get caught up on all that happened there. Look ahead to tonight's NXT. Then we'll wrap things up with this day in Niche history as well. Anyway, I need to go off camera here for a quick moment. So I'll put some music on for you guys while I'm gone. And then when I come back, we'll get started. Let's go. All right, I'm back. So again, friendly before we get going on the material here. This goes for both my Rumble and my YouTube viewers. If you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's get into the material that we're getting ready to talk about here. So go over to MeTV Tunes and look at some of the stories that grace their pages here. All right, so here's the first article we're going to be looking at. MeTV Tunes presents the Bugs Bunny Bowl. Time out. It's time for more Bugs Bunny. Article published today by MeTV Tunes staff. All right. So, 10 Hut. It's time to huddle up. With a marathon of Bugs Bunny cartoons, we will be airing a championship classic cartoon lineup with all-star Looney Tunes shorts starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central on Sunday, February 8th. Of course, my guess is this is kind of their response to the Super Bowl. I guess the Super Bowl is this Sunday, so of course they're going to counter with a Bugs Bunny Bowl with some, obviously with some Bugs Bunny cartoons. So here's a look at our starting lineup. Starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, 1 Pacific, Bugs and Sports, featuring athletic classics like Baseball Bugs, which we kind of brought up yesterday, Bully for Bugs, The Greyhounded Hare, Acrobatic Bunny, and many more. Then at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 3 Pacific, Bugs and Music, featuring musical classics like Stage Door Cartoon, Corny Concerto, Long-Haired Hare, Baton Bunny, Rhapsody Rabbit, and Rabbit of Seville, which of course featuring most of his musical cartoons. Let's see now. Then at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific, so the time that they usually devote to the All-Star cartoon lineup. Bugs and Sequels, featuring cartoons that became their own series, including Rabbit Fire, Rabbit Fire, Rabbit Seasoning, Duck Rabbit Duck, Tortoise Beats Hair, Tortoise Wins by a Hair, and Rabbit Transit. Basically, what they're talking about there is the first three there are the series where Bugs and Daffy are starting, Bugs, Daffy, and Elmer's out, and it's the old rabbit season, duck season, rabbit season, duck season, and then of course Tortoise Beats Hair, featuring Cecil Turtle. Then at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific, Bugs and Elmer Fudd, featuring a wild hair, harebrained hypnotist, slick hair, What's Opera Doc, the unruly hair, and Wacky Wabbit. Then at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific, Bugs and Fairy Tales, featuring your favorite fairy tales starring Bugs Bunny, like Beanstalk Bunny, Bewitched Bunny, Bugs Bunny and the Three Bears, Rabbit Hood, Little Red Riding Rabbit, and the Wind-Blown Hare. And then finally at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Central, Bugs Takes a Wrong Turn, the old Wrong Turn at Albuquerque bit, right? Featuring cartoons where he knew he should have taken a left at Albuquerque. This set of cartoons include Alibaba Bunny, Hillbilly Hare, Big House Bunny, Frigid Hare, Sahara Hare, and the Abominable Snow Rabbit. Oh, anyways, with all that being said there, that's all we got. I believe, yeah. Well, that's all we got for that article. Watch Bugs Bunny and Friends on MeTV Tunes, weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 a.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. And Sundays at 12 noon Eastern, 11 Central, 9 a.m. Pacific. So, anyways, let's see now. Alrighty then. Anyways, I'm going to need to. Let me at least. I am going to need to go off camera here again for a moment. But let me just get this all set up here. I'll be right back. I'll put some music on here. right. Well, I'm back now. Sorry about that. Anyways, so again, a friendly reminder: if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking, sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, now I'd get on to the second article of the evening here. From MeTV Tunes, most likely our final article of the evening, unless they happen to come up with another one here while in between the time I chose the stuff this afternoon and the start of the show here. Hanna-Barbera gave Jack Nicholson his start in Hollywood. You can't handle the tunes. Kind of like you can't handle the truth. Article published today by MeTV Tunes Staff. So let's take a look at this, see what they have to say here. Jack Nicholson, a pretty well-known actor for many of his roles, including his role in Psycho, among others. Let's get into this then. Before he was starring in classic films like The Shining, Batman, and A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson was a young man trying to find his big break in Hollywood. And he started in the most unlikely of places, the MGM animation department. In 1965, Nicholson joined MGM as an office assistant. It was an exciting time to join the team. Hanna-Barbera fearlessly led the cartoon unit. Producing classic Tom and Jerry cartoons, he was 18 years old. So 18 years old in 1955, not 65, sorry. 55, 18, so that would have made him what? He was born in what, 1937, I guess? And I believe he might still be alive today, so that would make him, if he is 88, 89 now, wow. So he's 18 years old, and he just kept submitting applications until they gave him a job. He made $30 a week. That'd be $362 today. As the quote unquote office pinky or errand boy. Nicholson delivered mail, sandwiches, coffee, and basically whatever the animators needed. Joe Barbera recalled, quote, he used to bring us Cokes. He'd wheel in the cart, go into the offices, and ask, quote, what do you want today, unquote. Yeah, so the errand boy, or another term, of course, for errand boy would be gopher, like go for this, go for that. That's what Bruce Wayne called Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond. It was, in explaining the job he'd have for him to his mother. Yeah, he'd be my little gopher, basically. Go for this, go for that. So one friend Jack Nicholson made during his time at MGM was Irvin Spence, a veteran animator from Warner Brothers and MGM, who later joined the Hanna-Barbera crew in 1961 and worked with them for over 30 years. By that time, of course, Hanna-Barbera had been doing, had started up Hanna-Barbera Productions. At the time, they had, of course, Huckleberry Hound. Let's see, they'd done Rough and Ready, Huckleberry Hound Show, Quick Draw McGraw Show, The Flintstones, and in 61, of course, they gave us the Yogi Bear Show, which Yogi, of course, spun off from Huckleberry Hound after becoming pretty popular on there. So Spence was significantly older, and the young Nicholson thoroughly enjoyed messing with the old man and pestering him while on runs. Still, Spence was more than game to get back at Nicholson by drawing overly exaggerated caricatures of the young office runner. Spence later remembered Nicholson having had a quote unquote a fun attitude. The cartoonist loved having Nicholson around, and he stayed in touch with many of them for years to come. Well, I can imagine that. You have this young kid who's full of energy. These guys who've been at this for a while, for like 15 to 20 years. And I'm sure that Nicholson at like 18, 19, 20 years old there probably brought a spark to the office that they felt was refreshing. This youthful energy, this gopher they little had, and they go for this, go for that, go for our lunch, go for the mail, go for this, all that. Um, let's see. Being around the all stars of the cartoon world, Nicholson naturally started sketching, and Hanna-Barbara took notice. They offered him an entry-level job in the animation department, but he turned it down. While working at MGM, Nicholson had joined the Players Ring Theater Group and had caught the acting bug. He continued to work at MGM by day while taking acting classes at night until the cartoon department was shut down. Nicholson recalled, quote, I tried to keep my day job during this period, but they closed the MGM cartoon department on me. Along with George Bannon, I was the last employee. Bill Hanna fondly remembered Nicholson in his memoir, A Cast of Friends. Quote, I can recall occasional chats with one particularly ebullient, ebullient um, office boy, which eventually led me to make a pointed suggestion. Quote, Jack, I remarked to him one morning, in smaller quotes here, maybe it's about time you quit running around in these halls as a gopher bringing coffee. You'd be a lot better off pushing your career on the sound stages. In smaller parentheses there. His name was Jack Nicholson, and I guess he took my advice. Unquote. Our friends over, and this is MeTV closing out the article here. Our friends over at Cartoon Research have a sketch um, of the MGM team, and young Jack Nicholson can be seen on the far right. So let's see if I click the Cartoon Research thing there that's underlined. Let's see if that will get me anywhere. Let me see if I think it does. And I'm gonna just um so to show you guys this thing. Oh, I guess it doesn't take us to. Oh, I guess here's the sketch right here. I guess. I guess there's the sketch. I guess they were talking about there. Oh, interesting stuff there. Let's see. All right, so let me All right. So, anyways, let's see real quick. Nope, I guess not. All right. So it looks like let's see. So now the question is, was going to try to just do it. So I think maybe I will take a shot here and start the wrestling wrap up a little early. I'm sure I can maybe drag that out because I'm trying to hit about the 49-minute mark here for tonight's show. Oh, let's see. Even though it's still quite early, but I guess I'll give it a shot here. Talk about. So we're gonna move on to the wrestling wrap up here. As I said, we'll look back to last night's Monday Night Raw. Talk about last night's Monday Night Raw, and look ahead to tonight's NXT. So coming on the heels of the Royal Rumble, WWE Monday Night Raw took place at the Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary. I do need to go off camera here one more time. Here, I'll be right back, but I'll put some music on, entertain you guys while I'm gone. I'll be right back. All right. Anyways, I'm back now. So, talking about last night's Monday Night Raw. So the show opened up with the Vision coming out to call out Raw General Manager Adam Pearce, with Braun Breaker basically upset at the circumstances of his involvement in the Royal Rumble. Not only drawing number 2, but also getting eliminated fairly quickly. You had all the members, we had all the members of the Vision in the ring. Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, and Austin Theory. And at one point, Braun Breaker said, I'm going to, basically threatened Adam Cole, I'm going to give you to the count of 3 to get your behind out here, basically. And he got 1, 2, and then Adam Pearce came out with, of course, mobilized security to try to prevent any kind of shenanigans. Pearce basically called him out for some stuff, like the fact that it wasn't Pearce's fault that he drew number 2. It wasn't Pearce's fault he got jumped by a masked figure. In fact, he reminded Braun that last time he knew the masked figure was Austin Theory. Kind of trying to drop some kind of little little dissension in the group of the Vision. This, of course, just only seemed to infuriate Breaker more. So he left the ring to try to go after Pearce. He basically, as he basically went out after Pearce, Bronson Reed followed him and tried to get between him and security to keep Braun Breaker from doing something they might later regret. Only for the two remaining members of the division of Logan Paul and Austin Theory to be attacked by the returning LA Knight. LA Knight, who's been on the shelf for the last couple of months after having been attacked by the division, now came in to looking for some revenge against them. Potentially setting up a program, maybe at between between LA Knight and the Vision, which we'll see more of later on in the night. Then we get to the first match of the evening, pitting Javon Evans versus the current incarnation of El Grande Americano, with Bravo and Rayo Americano in his corner. And Javon Evans got the win at 12:32 with some distraction help from the original El Grande Americano, again setting up another potential. Well, who is the real El Grande Americano? The original or the current one? So we'll see more of that. Then we have the Bella Twins coming out to the ring. Brie having made her WWE return at this past Sunday's Royal Rumble, in which they came out and the Bella Twins came out and basically set their announced that they were setting their sights on the WWE Women's Championship. The Women's Championship, currently held, of course, by Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, or team known as Rio. Then after that, originally there was another match that was set in which the War Raiders were set to go into tag team action, only for Obafemi, who's currently being promoted as a free agent right now, only for Obafemi, who made his main roster debut at the Royal Rumble, entering number one and basically eliminating the first 5 competitors in the match. He came out and basically essentially laid waste to the War Raiders, making an impact on, as they've been talking about, Adam Pearce been trying to get Femi to sign a contract. So Obafemi made his Raw debut in a way that main roster Raw debut in a way that really is going to cement him. Then after that, we had a segment with the Judgment Day, which saw, of course, the return of Dominic Mysterio, basically coming back from injury, and then you had a little bit of a clash between as they were celebrating Liv Morgan's Royal Rumble victory. Raquel Rodriguez was still kind of stinging upset as to why Liv eliminated her in the Rumble, as they were 2 of the last 4 with Tiffany Stratton and Sol Ruca of NXT fame. And they had a little, you can kind of see the kind of cat fightiness between the two, where Raquel basically told Liv, "Look, stay out of my match later on tonight." And later on in the evening, of course, Raquel was going to be getting a shot at the WWE Women's World, or the Women's World title later on that night in a Philadelphia street fight against Stephanie Vaquer. And Liv initially said, "Fine, I'll do that." and we'll talk a little bit more about what actually happened after that a little later on in our wrap up here. Then we get to the next match, pitting Penta versus Bronson Reed of the Vision, with Austin Theory, Logan Paul, and Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman in his corner, only for Bronson Reed to lose via countout when while some of the other Judgment Day members were coming to try to interfere, LA Knight surprise attacked with the referee distracted. LA Knight was able to attack Bronson Reed, who had attempted to get a chair and tried to utilize a chair against Penta, only for Knight to come out and basically hit the BFT on Reed, causing him to basically get virtually knocked out, and was basically counted out of the ring because of it, laying on the floor. One other thing that happened a little bit earlier in the evening as well. Gunther had a kind of celebrated the fact that he retired AJ Styles, mocking him in a number of different ways, including coming out to AJ's theme of the Phenomenal One. And then to get confronted and attacked by AJ's most recent tag partner as one half of the World Tag Team in Dragon Lee, only for Gunther to eventually get the sleeper on him, choke him out, and leaving Penta basically without anybody to back him up later that evening. So, and then we do get to the main event. We get to the last match of the evening, which is the women's world title match in a Philadelphia street fight, in which Stephanie McClure did retain over Raquel Rodriguez in a pretty brutal match that saw a couple broken tables in the match, winning it 21 minutes 55 seconds with attempted interference by both Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez of the Judgment Day. So Raquel even came out and Liv came out to try to hand Raquel the championship belt to hit Vakura, only for Vakura to knock the belt out and all that from Raquel Rodriguez. So that's all we have for last night's Monday Night Raw. So now let's look ahead to tonight's talk about what happened, what to look forward to on tonight's NXT, which will be of course on tonight's NXT, coming from the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, on the CW, with of course Booker T and Vic Joseph on commentary. And it's basically title matches galore, as in a triple threat match for the NXT Women's North American title. Izzy Dane of the Culling, with Nico Vance and Sean Spears in her corner, defends the belt against most recent champ Thea Hall and Lola Vice in a number one contendership semifinal match for the Speed title, to see who next challenges Jasper Troy. Charlie Dempsey is set to take on Elio LaFleur. In a match for the TNA Knockout World Tag Team Champions, as part of the as part of the of course, as part of the TNA and WWE working agreement. The Elegance brand of Heather and M by Elegance defend the TNA Knockout World Tag Team titles against Zaruka of Sol Ruka and Zarya. And of course, Sol Ruka is somebody that WWE does seem to be high on. There are a lot of people out there who believe she should be getting called up to the main roster soon. Saying that there have been a number of different recent call ups, so you have to kind of wonder, now granted, only Jordan Grace, I think, is the only women's talent that's been called up recently. And then in the main event for tonight, we'll see in a ladder match for the vacant NXT title that was vacated by Omafemi as he was getting called up. You will have compete, and this was originally supposed to be a 6-man ladder match, but turned into a 7-man ladder match due to kind of the shenanigans that happened surrounding the Joe Hendry and Jackson Drake match last week. So in this ladder match, you have the most recent former NXT champion before Obafemi and Ricky Saints. Also, you have Joe Hendry involved in the match. Former Evolved champion Sean Legacy, current Evolved champion Jackson Drake, Dion Lennox of Dark State, Keanu Carver, who just recently got called up to the NXT brand, and then Shiloh Hill rounding out the seven participants there. That's what's going down, and we'll of course have the results for tomorrow. I know NXT, I'm sorry, not NXT, but I know TNA is also building toward their next pay-per-view, which I believe is coming up in not this weekend, but next weekend. So we'll probably be talking more about that next week, of course. And with that, that's all I got for you on the wrestling wrap-up here. So now what we'll do is we will now, with today being Tuesday, February the 3rd, 2026. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So first off, we're going to head back all the way back to 1951. As on this date in the year 1951, which is of course 75 years ago today, as we were talking a little bit earlier about Bugs Bunny and the Bugs Bunny Bowl that MeTV Tunes will be having on this Sunday. Well, actually, this isn't even Bugs Bunny. The Looney Tunes short Canned Feud was released on this date back in 1951. It was directed by Fritz Frayling, starring Sylvester. In the film, Sylvester finds himself trapped within a house for 2 weeks. The only available food is canned. The only can opener is in the possession of a mouse, who uses surprise possession to taunt and torment Sylvester. So on this date 75 years ago today, the Looney Tunes short Canned Feud, starring Sylvester the Cat, premiered in movie theaters on this date back in 1951. So now, as we get ready to move on to the next piece of Nietzsche history, we move ahead to the year 1976, which is 50 years ago today. On this date, 50 years ago today, as soon as I find it here, let's see. On this date, 50 years ago today, The Minnesota Wrecking Crew of the Anderson brothers, Gene and Ole Anderson, regained the Mid-Atlantic version of the NWA World Tag Team titles from Rufus R. Jones and Wild McDaniel in Raleigh, North Carolina. So on this date, back in 1976, 50 years ago today, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew of Gene and Ole Anderson regained the the Mid-Atlantic version of the NWA World Tag Team titles from Rufus R. Jones and Wally McDaniel, who had defeated the Minnesota Wrecking Crew the month prior. Actually, it wasn't a month prior. I think it might have just been a couple. Yeah. Actually, it was a week prior. So Rufus R. Jones and Wally McDaniel had held the Mid-Atlantic version of the NWA World Tag Team for a week before Minnesota Wrecking Crew got the titles back. So as we get ready to move on to the next piece of Niche history, on the next, so moving ahead to the year 1996, 30 years ago today. On this date, 30 years ago today, back in 1996, Sunrise's Brave Command Dagwon premiered on Japanese television on this date back in 1996. So 30 years ago today, premiering on Nagoya TV, now known as ANN, Sunrise's Brave Command Dagwon premiered on Japanese television. And finally, we get ready to move ahead to the next piece of niche history here. We move ahead to the year 2021, 5 years ago today. On this date, 5 years ago today. On this date, 5 years ago today, year 2021, the first issue of the 80th anniversary Jumbo Comics. So the first issue of Archie's 80th anniversary Jumbo Comics Digest went on sale on this date back in 2021. Of course, this series ran for 5 issues, but since there was the 80th, and you had an assortment of stories, sold for $7.99 with 192 pages, with Mike Pellerito doing the editing on this. Of course, among the features included Crisis on the Riverdale Earths. So it's a collector's edition here. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Of course, we'll be back here with more Niche News tomorrow. Of course, this Sunday, I'll be joined by Rick Piper from Cross Comics. We'll be looking, we'll be starting our coverage of comics that went on sale in August of 1940. We'll be starting with DC, of course. And one of the things I can tell you is that we'll be looking at the first published appearance of the Golden Age Adam Al Pratt. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.